everybody, today we're making the Za'atar seasoning. Za'atar seasoning is a favorite spice blend that's used in a lot of Middle Eastern cuisine. We used it in the hummus shawarma, and so now we're gonna actually show you what goes into it and make it for you. This is a very nice seasoning blend, and it can go on top of your hummus or on top of your pita, or with your chicken, anything. It is a very highly spiced, fragrant blend. You can buy it in the grocery store, it's already mixed, or you can make it your own, and we're gonna make our own. We have dried oregano, so here's our oregano, dried thyme, sumac, which is this sort of reddish golden brown spice. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's a really deep, rich red. This comes from the berry of the sumac plant. The berry is ground and it has a, supposedly like a lemony, fruity flavor. And this is in the Za'atar seasoning. This is the key ingredient that gives it its indicative color. So that is a very, very fragrant spice, and I lucked out. It was at Key Food, but I couldn't find it anywhere else actually. Quilly stands nearby in the 20s, they have it as well, but I was actually looking for it up where I live, and ShopRite, Key Food, Stop and Shop, nobody up there had it. So we also have our sesame seeds. These we're gonna toast. If we don't toast it, the flavor isn't there. So we're gonna toast them first. Ground coriander, marjoram, and salt, kosher salt. If you don't have kosher salt, table salt is fine, all right? So what should we do first? We're gonna ground the toasted sesame seeds because we wanna let them cool a little bit before we mix it all together. So let's do that first. So here's our wooden spoon, and here's our medium-sized skillet. We're gonna put it on medium-high heat and warm up the pan. When you put the seeds in, we're gonna stir it with the wooden spoon so that way they don't burn. And we need to measure these. We only need 1 tablespoon. I don't know if you guys remember, but we used a lot of sesame seeds to make the bene wafers, the cookies, when we did Brown Girl Dreaming. Those really, really good cookies that we had. We used them for one of our catering events, and they were very good. So again, now we're using sesame seeds to discuss the Cypriot cuisine of Cyprus. So I'm sprinkling this over the top of the hot skillet. There's no oil in it. It's a dry skillet, hot, and we're gonna toast them. So we wanna get a nice sort of like light golden brown color, and that will release the flavor of the sesame seeds. Unfortunately, you can't be here to smell it, but it will certainly smell wonderful. And you could just toast them like this. If you feel more comfortable, just use the wooden spoon to stir them around. That's probably the safest for you if you're at home doing this. I don't know if you can see yet, but tiny little bit of color coming up on those sesame seeds. So it's beginning to color. We'll keep stirring these around. We don't want to burn any, but we do want to get them a nice light golden brown toasted color, and that will help release the flavor in it. So when you buy the seeds in the grocery store, you have no way of knowing how long this sat on the shelf. I mean, sometimes there's an expiration date, like this says June 3rd, 2022. So, you know, that's probably not been sitting on the shelf for a while, but some places they have things on the shelf for years and it loses all of its flavor. So you definitely want to toast these. You can see it's getting darker and darker. All right, so we don't want to stop stirring at this point because they're getting all nice golden brown. Now I'm doing both. I'm stirring and moving the skillet. All right, and I'm actually going to turn it down a little bit more because I don't want to burn them. Sesame seeds are expensive. All right, now I'm going to stop. We've got this golden brown color on all of them. Some of them are getting a little dark. I don't want to go any further. So I'm going to pour these into my small bowl and get that off the heat right away. And so you can't really tell beforehand, but now you can. See the color difference? And you can smell. You smell them? All right, so those are toasted now. So we're done with that. Next, we're going to use the dried oregano. You can use fresh oregano as well if you actually have it, but you would have to dry it. So if you have a garden and you have a lot of oregano left over, you can certainly use this, but you would dry it first. And then we need 2 tablespoons. So here's our measuring spoon. This one is the tablespoon. I'm going to use 2, and I'll use the cap to level it off. Make sure it's exact. All right. And I'm going to put it over here so I don't confuse myself. Next thing is our thyme. We want 1 tablespoon of our thyme. This is brand new. Got these at Key Food right here, 2 blocks away. And thyme is a great seasoning, and it's used a lot in French cuisine. It is, to me, it reminds me of my mom's ratatouille. So, like that movie, Ratatouille, the cartoon movie, when the gentleman remembers his childhood and ratatouille. I kind of had the same with my ratatouille. My mom always made ratatouille growing up. We would have it hot or cold, and I loved it. So she used fresh thyme in her ratatouille. So a long fresh twig of thyme in it, and this is ground thyme. It's very potent. Then our marjoram. Again, we need a tablespoon of marjoram. Marjoram is, again, one of those herbs that very similar to oregano, but it's a milder flavor. It's not used commonly in a lot of things, but it is French. Used a lot in French cuisine as well. As you can see, it kind of looks like oregano. It's very similar. The flavor of it, though, is a lot milder, more fruity and flowery, floral. So next we need the ground coriander. This one is great too. We only need a teaspoon of this. Ground coriander is very strong. And last, a teaspoon of our salt. Let's put this away. And then most importantly, our sumac. So we need 1 teaspoon. Yellow is teaspoon of our salt, our kosher salt. You can use the lid to level it off. There we go. Now, putting this recipe together is very simple. You just add, stir everything together, and then you have your spice blend, and you have it there to use. You can keep it in a container and use it up to 3 months, if it lasts that long. And so this can go on top of the pita bread, the yogurt flatbread that we made. We could sprinkle some on top of that. After you make the flatbread, you could brush it with some olive oil, sprinkle this on top, put it under the grill. That would be even amazing. So again, we're going to use a tablespoon of the sumac. Oh, there we go. So I'm hoping that you can see that burgundy, ripe red, purple color. It's just gorgeous. So we were checking out the uses of it before, and we read that This can be used to make sort of like a pink lemonade. So they use that in the Middle East as well. All right, our sesame seeds are still hot, so I'm gonna add our salt and all of our other spices, the marjoram, the oregano, our ground thyme, and then I'm gonna use the wooden spoon to stir it all together. And could even use my hands. And when I'm using my hands, I'm sort of crushing the leaves of the marjoram and the oregano together. Now, I don't want to crush them too much because that also helps release the flavors. So should I actually be using this in a dish, before I put it on the dish, I'll crush it up and that'll help release the flavor from the oregano and the marjoram. So I want to hold off on that. I'm going to add the toasted sesame seeds. And here we have this absolutely beautiful Middle Eastern spice blend called Za'atar seasoning. And this is what we use in the shawarma, the shawarma, the hummus shawarma. I used it in the beef along with other seasonings. We used this to flavor it. And it smells lemony and floral, and this will taste delicious. So I hope you enjoyed learning about this spice blend that's used, and how we use it in something else too. Maybe I'll put it in the pasticcio. So enjoy this recipe, and we will use it in some more of our Cypriot cuisine. Thank you guys, bye.